this is a technique that's been around for decades. It's been used by people that go out and want to hunt at night so they can see wildlife. It's used by various militaries so they can see at night. And it's also used in medicine. Chiropractors, very common, will use this technology to view the human body. And the advantage of this, huge clinical benefits. This is one of the articles. I'm going to show another article here which breaks this down in simple form. But basically, when someone is in pain, that will show up as a zone that is red, indicating inflammation. So this is the infrared light that comes off the body, but there's also light in the visible range, which we call biophotons. But if someone has not had this done before, I would definitely encourage them to do that. Because, for example, women, it can pick up indications of breast cancer years before ever a tumor forms.
Yeah.
So, for example, a cancer line will develop a blood supply to a tumor before the tumor ever forms, and this is detectable with thermal imaging. If someone is experiencing chronic back pain, this technique can be used to non-invasively detect where that inflammation is, and it may give some indication for how it can be treated or even the effectiveness of the treatment.
Interesting.
And then finally, this last image that I wanted to show here, in addition to infrared energy coming off the body, all human beings also have something called biophotons. And biophotons are very low levels of light. So all living cells, whether or not it be human beings, animals, plants, all living cells emit light, very, very low levels of light. So in order to detect this, you take someone and you put them in a room that is completely dark and also temperature controlled. You then use a device called a photomultiplier tube, and this will be able to pick up these very, very weak emissions of light. So we did finally, before I flip it back to you, we did a study back in 2009, and some of our LifeWave community may recognize the names of Dr. Gaetan Chevalier and Dr. Carl Merritt. I was very, very fortunate to meet both of these fine scientists, and they agreed to do studies with us. So this was, of course, all third-party studies, but this was an initial pilot that we did with 10 people. And what we wanted to see was whether or not the energy patches had any effect on the biophoton emission from the body. So just skipping over now to the conclusion, statistically significant results were obtained, strongly indicating that the energy patches do generate measurable changes in both biophoton emission intensities and the body's energetic condition. So this simply means that when you apply energy patches, or any of the patches for that matter, to the body, what's going to happen as a result is that it is going to cause a measurable change in biophotons, and the biophotons are what control the biochemistry in the body. So we can see that this is a mechanism by which the LifeWave patch.
And that makes sense. Is that how you decided where the placement needed to be in terms of the patches, is using those acupuncture meridians and the thermoimaging?
So, fascinating question, because we can actually apply the patches just about anywhere on the body. So the light emission occurs everywhere. There's some very strong light emissions that occur from the hands, around the heart, around the brain. There's huge electromagnetic fields that we can detect using something called a squid magnetometer. So the heart and the brain generate these enormous electromagnetic fields. But the fact of the matter is, what we found in clinical studies and in practice is that you can apply the patches just about anywhere on the body. So let's take a look at this for a moment. If we go back to chart over here on the human nervous system. So there are nerve clusters throughout the entire body. We have, of course, nerves along the central nervous system and then the peripheral nerves. But at any one point on the skin, we're going to have clusters of nerves. This is pretty self-evident. And what that means is, first, of course, the nerves are the electrical wiring part of the communication system of the human body. I say part of because the meridians, as it's known in Eastern medicine, are actually filaments of collagen fibers that have minerals that are bonded to them. So minerals like calcium and magnesium, and they conduct infrared light. So the body has this redundancy in communications. It uses the traditional nervous system for bioelectrical signaling, but it uses the meridian system as a fiber optic network to conduct infrared light. So our body literally has fiber optic cables for communicating with light, as well as a bioelectrical system. So this simply means anywhere that you have a nerve cluster, you can apply a patch. Now, the meridians are interesting. You certainly don't need to know acupuncture in order to use the LifeWave patches, but many people like to place the patches on acupuncture points. This is something that we used to teach many years ago, but with X39, just simply what we found was simply applying it behind the neck, below the belly button. You get benefits throughout the entire body. However, for those people that practice natural medicine, that practice acupuncture, and are interested at using the patches this way to help stimulate the flow of energy through the body, you could, for example, apply a set of energy or ice wave patches on the bottom of the feet where the kidney meridian is, and this would cause the energy to flow through the kidneys from the bottom of the feet up into the collarbone.
Amazing.
And we did, in fact, do a study on this, which is worth mentioning. We did several studies. First, this is a study that was done by Dr. Tom Budzinski, Dr. Helen Budzinski. Dr. Tom Budzinski, extremely well known in the literature. And this was a study that he did using an electroacuoscope to look at what happens when you apply patches to the body. This was done back in 2009. We're very privileged to work with Dr. Budzinski. I'm going to skip over here to the end. Sorry about this, so we can see the conclusion. And for those of you that are interested, this study is posted in the back office. But right over here we see this study found that indeed LifeWave patches do serve as a stimulus for the actions that they were developed, that is to be photonic communicator for specific frequencies or wavelengths, which are driven as if bioelectrical stimulus from the patch site along meridian. So in other words, this is saying that if you place the patches on an acupuncture point, it will stimulate the flow of energy through that acupuncture point and through the meridian. And the study also importantly found that no adverse effects occurred from wearing the patches.
So is that why we say that it actually works with the body? Unlike many other products on the market where they're trying to force the body to do something, is when we say we're synergistic with how the body takes care of itself, that's what you're talking about, is it actually helps support existing systems that help restore the body and help it recover.
That's right. This would be a natural method to stimulate the flow of energy through the body. And it's a good point. When we look at any type of intervention, there's typically some positive benefits and some negatives. So if we were to look at pharmaceutical drugs, for example, Pharmaceutical drugs definitely provide a certain benefit. Let's say that's in the area of pain relief, but they can also have adverse effects if used on a daily basis. So this is something that a healthcare practitioner should be addressing with their patient. However, because the LifeWave patches work with light and they're working with the natural system that the body is already using, we've never, in our more than 20 years of doing studies, ever found there to be any adverse effects from the use of the patches when they're used as directed. If people wear the patches for more than 12 hours, they could get a heat rash from overstimulating the skin, but that would be about the extent of it. I did want to show over here, this was a study that we did with Dr. Dean Clark, and we did studies using both IceWave and both Eon. And after IceWave was applied, typically within 20 minutes, we would see a very significant reduction, and you can read through this for yourself.
That's amazing.
But we've got the before and afters there. We also did a study using infrared imaging on horses, and we also did one on dogs as well.
Wow. So when it comes to
And then-
placement then,
Yes.
go ahead.
Oh, yeah. And then finally, I just wanted to point out one other study that we did on this area for those people that are interested. This happened to be on SP6. Spleen 6 is the name of the acupuncture point. And people might be interested in this for several different reasons. First, this acupuncture point, stomach 36, which is considered to be one of the most powerful acupuncture points in the entire body. It's used for managing appetite. So for those people that want some way to naturally control appetite, stimulating stomach 36 is a way to do it. And also there are longevity benefits and immune health benefits associated with stomach 36. So this was a study that we had published, and the conclusion of the study was that the SP6 patch worn at stomach 36 for 1 week may significantly improve cellular, physiologic, functional status of different organs measured by EIS, which is electrointerstitial scanning. So this is all to say that for most people, applying the patch as directed anywhere on the body is going to be great. But if someone wants to get more sophisticated, there's all kinds of different tools for doing that.
Wow, I've got to tell you, I'm so blown away by the science, and it makes me feel peaceful that this is a way for people to up-level their wellness without pharmaceuticals, using the body's existing mechanisms. They can do it long-term and it won't be harmful. There's not a lot of that in the world right now, and I really appreciate that about the patch, and the fact that LifeWave is getting it out into the world, and that your brilliance is out there for people to use now. I think timing is perfect for it, in my personal opinion. All right, let's talk a bit about placement, and specifically, if I want to wear more than one patch, how would I stack those, and how would I wear those? Like, let's say, for example, X39, SP6, and an IceWave patch. How would I stack those and wear those?
All right, let's take a look at this, and we'll go back and share screen. And let's take a look at, let's see, over here. Okay, so when someone visits our website, they're going to get some very basic information on patch locations. And we use these points in our clinical studies as a matter of convention, meaning that we just found over the years that these 2 points work very well. And when we're applying, let's say, an X39 patch to the back of the neck, if now we change it to an Eon patch, we'll be able to say, okay, the patches are different, the location's the same, but the results are different. So that means the patch has a unique mechanism. And so we're ruling out the stimulation of that point as contributing to the effect that we're seeing in the study. We want to know that a specific patch has a specific biochemical effect on the body. But as we previously talked about, when we're taking any one individual patch like X39, Eon, glutathione, we have a few simple options. First is these are the go-to points. But other than that, we found in our blood studies that the placement of the patch was not critically important. So you apply it behind the neck, you'll get benefits throughout the entire body, just as you would applying it below the belly button. So that would be one thing.
Okay, that's great. So if I'm brand new and I may not understand exactly where to place it, if it's an inch off or a couple of inches off, it will still affect that area of the body positively. That's
Absolutely.
Good to know. Good to know. And I can wear as many as I want, I take it.
Okay, so this is a different subject, so let's dive into that a little bit. So we have found, first I think it would be important to clarify that when we're doing studies on patches, generally speaking, only one patch is applied to the body at any one time. So if someone is using X39 for sports performance, they say, well, one patch is good, 3 patches might be better. We found that the benefits that people get in our studies is from only wearing one patch. Now, this is to say we may find out in the future that in very isolated circumstances, when someone, it would be maybe like a high performance athlete, maybe they would benefit from more than one patch, or maybe there's a protocol we haven't discovered yet to really take advantage of this. But for right now, most of the time, just using one patch is enough. So one X39 patch, you don't have to use, 2, 3, 4. Now that's a little bit different than perhaps combining patches for separate benefits. So we know that nutrients like glutathione, carnosine have phenomenal benefits not only for overall health, but also, let's say, for the health of the skin, and that's very important to people. So someone might say, well, I want to use X39 because I love this product, but I also want to support my glutathione levels for the health of my skin. I want to use carnosine because it's good for the health of the brain, for cognition, it's good for sports performance, supports building of new muscle mass, so it can support strength and stamina. Someone might say, okay, I'm going to put X39 behind the neck, I'll put glutathione below the belly button, and maybe I'll put carnosine on my right hand, what have you. That would be totally fine. But you don't have to, on those patches, you don't have to use 3, 4, 5 of them or anything like that.
Got it. Okay, so I can use other patches stacked with my X39, for example, but I don't need to use multiples of X39.
That's right. Now, there would be an exception to that. There is an exception to this, and the best example that I could use is with IceWave. And this is something that we found through our practical experience over the years. One set of IceWave is fine. However, let's say now you take someone that has something that's been around for a few years, maybe it was from some type of accident. What we found is that if you apply one set of IceWave on the bottom of the feet, and you apply a second set of IceWave to the upper torso, that could be on the wrists, it could be around the neck and shoulder area, but one set on the lower body, one set on the upper body, that this had a very, very powerful effect. Applying 2 sets of IceWave patches can work extraordinarily well.
That makes sense. I hurt my hand this week. And so, like, to your point, I have localized pain and I'm wearing IceWave. In 30 seconds, I feel better. But I have used it on the larger parts of my body before, and I'm a fan of IceWave. So to that point, let's say I'm a new brand partner and I want to share or demonstrate patches on someone else or with someone else. What do you recommend a new brand partner use, and how would you recommend they demo the patch?
Yeah, so the first thing is a new brand partner coming in. What's been extraordinarily successful has been introducing them to X39. By far, X39 has the most benefits of any one of our other products. And most people will get very, very good benefits from just using X39. That's on individuals that are generally healthy. And it's so incredibly simple to use just for overall health in terms of applying on the back of the neck or applying below the belly button. So a new brand partner coming in could start just with X39, and they could expect to get measurable results with that. They might start feeling more energy, better night's sleep within about the first 24 hours. Now, when we do our studies, we're going to look at the first 24 hours, the first week, the first month. So we want people to use the product for at least a month so they can experience all the benefits. This is a good time to point out that an individual's diet and overall lifestyle really matter here. So if someone is eating fast food, they shouldn't expect to have the best health, and just putting the patches on is not going to be their best strategy. So they should work with their healthcare practitioner to clean up their diet, look at techniques like intermittent fasting, make sure they're getting enough water, not consuming stimulants, and also getting adequate exercise. Having that foundation of diet, exercise, getting enough sleep is so critically important to overall health. And then when you're adding products like the patches, then people can start to really dial their health in and expect better results. One other comment on that for new brand partners is that if they apply X39, they may get results with that. However, what we found through practical experience is that if they apply a product like Eon, that is going to help improve energy flow, and they'll get faster results with X39. So we've seen through practical experience that the use of X39 and Eon together is extraordinarily powerful.
All right, many people are looking for a regimen to help elevate their wellness 24 hours a day. Do you have a morning and night regimen suggestion, especially for the newbie, the person that's just getting into patching? What would you recommend they do morning and night to keep that wellness happening all day?
So this is going to depend on where they are with their health and what their goal is. So someone that, let's say, is in their 20s may have a very different goal than someone in their 60s, 70s, 80s. So it would be first very important to establish what the desired goal is. It's not sufficient to say, well, I just want to be healthy. Well, okay, do you need to lose some extra body fat? Have you been a smoker for 20 years? You know, these are very important questions. The good news that I would impart to anyone is that there are numerous natural supplements that are available to complement the use of the patches for dealing with any number of different health problems. So for example, one of the things that I very often promote is olive oil. I also promote herbs like curcumin, which is an extract from turmeric. So olive oil, which is very rich in polyphenols, antioxidants, incredible longevity benefits. So if someone wants to use our patches, they should first take a look at their diet and their lifestyle and their objectives, and then look at adding in natural materials like olive oil as an example. But for patching, let's just say for the moment, we're working with someone that's in their 40s and they want to improve their overall health. Maybe they want to have better body composition, so they're starting to exercise, so they want patches for improving strength and stamina. Let's say that was the objective. They would start with X39, and they could use X39 for the first 1-3 months, whatever they prefer, and see how they do with that product. Put it on in the morning, take it off at night. And they may find that that patch resolves a lot of the issues that they were looking at. In other words, they apply the patch and they find out that it's a very good aid for supporting sports performance. They find out that it's improving the energy flow through bodies, so they get more energy. It helps improve the quality of their sleep. Could turn out for them that that's all they need. If they want to go and explore some of the possibilities, they could add X49, they could add the carnosine patch, and these products have been shown to support sports performance as well. So if they wanted to add additional patches, adding X49 or carnosine to X39 is another direction. They should also consider adding the Celergize morning formula, because that's going to contain all the nutrients that someone needs to get the best results with our patches. So that's something to consider as well.
And then what about at night? What do you recommend in the evening and to sleep in? Do you ever recommend X39 at night, or is it mostly silent nights? What's your thinking on through the night during that important recovery period?
Yeah, no, so I definitely would not use X39 at night. If someone did, that's so totally okay. But when we do our studies, it's through the use of X39 during the day. For the evening, they have several choices. They could use Silent Nights, they could use Alabita, they could use the Eon patch. Carnosine is funny. Some people, carnosine has been intended to be used during the day, but some people, when they use carnosine, have told us they had very intense dreams. Some people like that. So we don't have any type of clinical data to, validate that's the effect. It's just anecdotal feedback that we've received over the years. But generally speaking, for improving quality of sleep, the reason I mention Eon is it's for stress reduction. And while it's not designed to directly improve the quality of sleep, what people have found is that because it reduces stress, it can prepare the body for a good night's sleep. But of course, Silent Nights would be our go-to product for improving sleep. We also, of course, have a Celergize evening formula, and that's going to provide nutrients like magnesium, theanine, which will relax the nervous system, taurine, relax the nervous system, and that is a phenomenal aid for naturally improving sleep.
Love it. Okay. Water.
Yes.
Can I swim in my patches or shower? And how does it handle sweat? Because if I'm wearing these every day, I'm going to come in contact with water in some way. Can I wear them in a water situation, either sweating or washing?
So funny you ask, because some of the first athletes to ever use LifeWave patches were Olympic swimmers. So I had the privilege of working with Coach Richard Quick, who was a 6-time United States Olympic swim coach, and he coached the Stanford women's swim team. Absolutely amazing human being. And it was a privilege to know him. So we've had athletes use the patches, go swimming, no problem at all. And the reason is because the patches are completely sealed. They're stimulating the skin with light. It's not a transdermal patch that's going to try to pass nutrients into the body. So because the patches are completely sealed, if you take a shower with them, no problem at all. What we do recommend is that if someone were to exercise and then they get sweaty, clean the skin and make sure that the skin is clean and dry before applying the patch. So you take a shower in the morning, make sure your body's dry, then when you apply the patch, it will stick to the skin without any problem.
That is good to know. That is really good to know. Thank you. There are lots of questions about patches when people first come into the business, and as you get familiar with them and have a relationship with the patches and see how they change your wellness, it becomes easier. But I've also heard some interesting myths out there about the patches.
Okay.
Are there any common myths that you've heard as well that you'd like to debunk about your patches?
Oh, well, well, the first thing I would say is I've heard some funny things over the years that aren't worth repeating, of stories that people have come up with on how I developed them, I think I would say. Like, putting them on Navy SEALs and then shooting them out of torpedo tubes, that kind of thing, which is not true. But we receive in some wonderful testimonials from our brand partners on their experiences with the patches. And the one thing that we don't do is make medical claims. So if someone has a serious health condition and they want to use the patches, we recommend that they work with their healthcare practitioner to see if it's okay for them. We will never represent that one of our products could cure or treat a health condition. These are for supporting overall health and wellness, and that's the confines under which we live in with our regulatory claims. So that, to me, maybe that's not necessarily a myth, but we've had people make claims in the past that the patches could treat or cure a number of very significant health disorders, and that's just simply a claim that the company doesn't make.
And that makes sense. And I appreciate that. I have one last question, and then I want to leave time to hear about the study.
Yeah, let's get to that.
Yeah. So, and this is more about you, David, personally. Building a company like you have is not easy. There's heartache, there's headache, there's risk. And you're also an inventor and scientist. You didn't have to build a company to get these inventions out into the world. You could have stayed in the lab and invented and invented and invented. What motivated you to actually do the company piece, to get it out into the world, to deal with all of the issues that come with a multinational business as big as LifeWave is? Talk to me a little bit about that. Why did you make that decision in your own life? And what was your thinking behind that?
There's a lot of ways to answer that question. There's, I would suppose, a very practical way of answering the question, which I will. And then I think over time, you kind of learn that what it is that you want out of life is not necessarily what's the most important thing. It's what plan does God have for you? So, there's the old joke, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, right? Mm-hmm. So, which is probably pretty true. But there's this amazing journey that all of us can experience in our lives, but part of that is we have to be willing to give up our free will and turn our lives over to God and say, please show me, please direct me in the way that you want my life to go in. I want to serve you, serve your people, and please show me the best way that I can do that, that's your will. And I think, over time, there have been goals that I've set for myself, but I want to make sure that I'm doing those things for the right reason. And if I'm going in a direction that I shouldn't be going in, I look for those signs. And that's always turned out to be the case. So with LifeWave, my intention was to be an inventor, turn the product over to another company, let another company sell it. I wanted to just be in a lab, work all day, develop products. And that's what I wanted, but God had other intentions and plans for me. So what I was finding, I was going out and doing market research, and I had been working with a number of universities on doing clinical studies, working with a company to help set up manufacturing, doing this market analysis, and then looking at, well, what is the best way to sell the product? I went to General Nutrition Center to look at putting it in retail stores. I spoke to people about TV advertising, infomercial, radio, internet, and the frustration was coming in was that all these people that I was speaking to were looking at this as just being another product that would sit on a shelf and kind of be the product of the month that they promote, and then that's it. And it became very obvious, two things became very obvious. Number one was that in order for people to understand the power of the technology, they had to use it, and that could only be communicated in a face-to-face selling environment. So that meant in a business model like network marketing. And then number two, because people couldn't see the vision that I had of where this technology could go, I eventually formed the decision that I had to run this business. I had no experience in network marketing. It wasn't what I wanted to do, but it was very clear that this was the direction that God was pointing me in. And so I went in that direction, and I'm unbelievably grateful I did.
Well, we are too. So thank you for sharing that. Now I want to leave things open to hear about this gorgeous study.
Yes. So let's go ahead and pull that up. This was a real delight. We're going to be posting this to the back office. So this is just a draft of the study. And this is a 55-person, double-blind, placebo-controlled study. This was performed by Dr. Gaetan Chevalier, amazing guy. We've had him as a speaker to some of our LifeWave conferences in the past. He had worked, as a matter of fact, at UCLA as a nuclear engineer doing research on nuclear physics, incredibly brilliant guy. As I showed earlier, he did some of our initial studies on biophoton emission, and he's also had previously done a study on the use of X39 at improving cognition. And that was an incredible pilot study that he did just prior to COVID. So in this study, he was using as a diagnostic a tool called Menlascan. This is a piece of equipment that we have in our LifeWave laboratory in Florida. And essentially, you have a set of electrodes that are up on your forehead, a set of electrodes on the palms of the hands and also on the feet. And the Menlascan is phenomenal because it's going to take measures of not only overall health and wellness, but it can look at energy flow through all of the organs in the body. And our main interest in using Menlascan is it can give you an idea of a person's mitochondrial function and also a person's biological age and overall health. So Menlascan is a very powerful tool. GDV is that's short for gas discharge visualization. And this technique is another way that we can assess energy flow through specific organs in the body. So the idea is that if you apply the patch, if there is an improvement in energy flow through the body or energy flow through an organ, the Menla scan or the GDB should be able to detect it. Another reason for using two different types of diagnostics is that if the Menla scan were to show an improvement but the GDB did not, then you'd say, well, you know, maybe this is a placebo, something's not really happening here. But if both the Menla scan and the GDB show that the patch is improving overall health and wellness and energy flow, then we'd say, okay, we have some strong data here. Both different measurement techniques are saying the same thing a different way. So the outcome of this, I'll skip down. You can see this is a long study, a lot of data here. Conclusion. So the conclusion is that Group B, which is the active X39 patch or patch that was helping participants to have more energy than the patch in Group A. Group A is the placebo. After the data, so this was a blinded study, the double-blind study, so the researchers did not know if Group A was the active or placebo or Group B was the active or placebo. So after they finished this study, they asked us which one was active and placebo, and we were able to provide them with the study key. So that's why it says here, after the data analysis presented, this report was completed, the sponsor confirmed that Group B is the group that used the active patches. So here, when we go through the study write-up, essentially what it says is that people wearing X39 had improvements in overall wellness in both the Menla scan and the GDB. So this confirms that the patch, using two different techniques for assessing energy flow and wellness, both different types of equipment measured the same thing, that X39 is improving overall health and wellness. So another great double-blind placebo-controlled study to add to our already more than 80 studies that we have on our technology.
Which is amazing, and I just have to say, I've been in wellness for a long time, and I've done product and marketing in this space for a long time. And one of the reasons I believe in LifeWave, David, is because of your research. And very few companies in wellness do this amount of research, and they certainly don't do it from different angles like you have, to understand all the layers of how the product works with the body and the synergies and the timing, and to make sure that what you're saying about the product is true. So I would just say thank you. I know that double-blind clinical studies are expensive and time-consuming and difficult, and not every company takes the time and makes the effort to do it. And so I would just say, just confirms to me again the credibility of the product and of the brand, and I love it. So thank you. I'm excited to read it, as I'm sure everyone listening will be as well. All right. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for letting me do this with you.
It was fun. Thank you so much. It was great having the conversation.
Yeah, and this was just so fascinating. It's convinced me over and over again, and even more today, that these patches are real. They work beautifully with the body to help restore and help you with your wellness, unlike anything else I've seen in the market. And so thank you, David, for your time, your attention, your brilliance, and have a great day.
Thank you, Kristen. You as well. Always a pleasure.